May I request Professor M P Ranjan from NID to make his presentation?
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, so we'll get to the slides. I've titled it Call for a New Vision, and I would like to first thank Professor Atwankar for his lucid statement. I think half my job is done by the claims that he has made and the definitions that he's given to design. He's broadened the platform. And I would also like to thank Laila here for looking at another sector which also needs design. So I just want to catch up in this slide that where are we today? We're 60 years on from the setting up of the National Institute of Design. Professor Atwankar talked about the India report which started even earlier, and we are now at a cusp of a new transition, and I think the time is right and we need to move forward. So you'll see certain statements there. We are at 2013 and 2014. I've set a red mark over there saying, calling it Ministry of Design. Is this a big call? Is it a strange call? Because every ministry in this country needs design and they do not know it. Why do I say they do not know it? They're using it. All of us have an idea of design which is different, and we need to now merge it together to find out one cohesive idea. It will not be a single idea, it will be a multiple idea. So what is this design thing that I'm talking about? And if you really look back at the history of design, my definition of design begins 2 million years ago with the first use of fire. It's an intentional leap of faith which performed something for us. So intentions that bring value, it puts everything that we make and do under this definition. Now, if that is true, then it takes a long time for us to understand what we have done. And this is where, so we put design first, then it becomes a fine art, we perfect it, and then we build the knowledge for it, which is the sciences. But I think as we go forward, we put the cart before the horse, and in our country at least, we know the numbers tell us that science and technology precedes, art follows, and design trails far behind. Do we need to change and bring unless it's, of course, there are planes which are propelled from behind, we can continue to put the cart before the horse, but I think that way is not the way we need to go. These are three legs of a society to be able to build. All three are required and essential, but we need to, when I say misplaced priorities, we need to share it and see that the weight of the legs, to use a metaphor, which we keep using. Now, what are the needs of India? We have actually listed 230 sectors of our economy that need design. And I like the idea of the hospital approach. We need perhaps 230 hospitals and 230 kinds of things. Who is doing design for our agricultural sector? Are the agricultural universities doing it? Or is it happening somewhere else? Or is it happening in the field or in the breach between the gaps? How much do we need and in what areas? And I think we need to look at it. There are 600 cultural clusters that we belong to. We call ourselves a nation, but we have mapped out in our book, Aditya and I, with a team of 50 teams, we worked and mapped out 600 clusters of handicrafts in the country. These are just metal objects from one kind of production space. But there are 500 materials, there are 600, I think. Look at the idea that, without looking at craft, look at food, for instance. How many pickles do you know? And just take mango pickles. The variety is staggering. And I think that is something brings water to our mouth. Why does it do so? It is because we have perfected an art of converting a certain kind of food into a way of eating. And that way of eating is forming culture. I think that's what we need to understand. And to that we add the complexity of multiple linguistic zones and multiple regional aspirations. Everybody is not thinking alike. They have different, I think Laila touched upon Kerala being white. I'm a Malayali, but that's not why I'm wearing white, but I'm not ashamed of being a Malayali, although I lived 40 years plus in Gujarat. I'm also an Ahmedabadi, so I know the money bit and, things like that. So what is this design? I have 2 points over here, which is nature of design and areas of application. There is a nature to design. And by the way, this presentation is available online and you can download it from my blog. But there are 4 notions, the words in blue that I would like to draw your attention to. These are terminologies that I've adopted from Professor Harold Nelson and their book, The Design Way. I'm coming to him later. Intentions, because we need to set goals and directions. We need to build explorations into it, because somehow we start with the tendering process. And that is wrong, because you cannot tender something you do not know, which is what we are trying to do. We are building a future by tendering. That means we hope that some entrepreneur on the corner will create that answer for you. Wrong, sir. It's not going to happen. We've got to invest in the future. We've got to invest in explorations. We've got to invest in compositions, which means we've got to try it out, play around, work, and then pass it on to the tendering system of what we like and what we want. Once we so it is not about right and wrong. It's about better and worse. Atwankar told it already, and I think this is really where we need to build. How do you build that into education now? What are the metaphors of design, and why is design so difficult to understand? I use a number of metaphors. Nature of design tells us fire, seed, iceberg. What are these metaphors? Fire is actually a system. It interacts with the environment, converts material, generates energy, does all these things, but it works as an integral system. You can't make an object and think that it solved the problem. So the object has to be used. It is used in a context. You go outside Delhi, you go outside Ahmedabad, you will find humongous mountains of objects, which is disposed by the city corporation. Noida has one which is, I don't know, 10 stories, 20 stories, 30 stories tall. Ahmedabad has one. Every city has one. So why are we making more objects? Big question. Why do we need so many cars? Why is growth so important? Some of these questions come up. Seed. The potency of a seed, you cannot see in the seed the forest. That is what the design has. And the iceberg means that everything is not visible. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So I think we need to understand it. And the ways of design, design is a process. We have models for processes. We need to recognize that design is a journey, individual and team journeys. And design is also several styles of thinking put together. I have a model. These are all my models which I use. And the domains of design are many. Therefore, it's even more confusing. But these images that I've used here are from a poster that we prepared for the Davos meet in 2009 as case studies for corporate leaders to look at, to see where design could be used. Thank you. Objects, communications. No, that said 6 minutes, so I still have 2. So we will go. And then these are the thought leaders that we need to draw attention to. These are not all, but there are some who are restating and redefining. The reason why I put them up over here is that there are books available and all of you can get your whole hands on them. And there's also things which are happening on the web, not only in the book space, and they're talking about co-creation, sense-making, and processes of that kind. Now, the core area is design education. You're just in time, sir. Basic design and project learning. These are two-pronged approach. I don't want to complicate the matter, so design education is possible. And this is drawn from something which has refreshingly happened in 1950s to 60s. There was a school that was built after the Bauhaus. I don't think Bauhaus gave us the foundation program, but the Hochschule für Gestaltung Ulm gave us the basic design program, which is sensitizing designers to be able to do compositions and judgments. And if you are interested, that the material is available here and you can catch up on that. So what is basic design as different from foundation? It is sensitization, empowering, enabling, and envisioning as an ability, which is a core design ability. And then the contextualization is the project learning that can be done. And it needs to be done rooted in the place where you are. And we'll move forward from there. So we have examples, and we have many what-ifs. What if there were sector-specific schools? What if there were, design was sprinkled inside the university? How would it change the nature of the university and so on? How do you put it into management schools? I think that we have already had. And we have experiences with that. Some of my students got involved with the Apple project in the 90s, And we have also had some experience building such alternate institutions. For bamboo, for instance, we built one in Agartala to try and find out. And wonderful learning experiences which are there. We're also thinking, what if we are able to give this kind of learning to IAS officers and imagine the probationers going out and doing transformational roles in their first placement, with some funding, of course. And there are case material which has happened. Design for Change is a children transforming exercise which is happening. 1 million kids are involved today. Daily Dump is dealing with that garbage problem. You don't need a garbage dump. You can compost at home. And there are such examples which are there. It's not only designers who are doing it, citizens who are doing design. Sulabh Sauchalya, Arvind Netralia, Lijat Papad are all design solutions in our context, in our time. And I think we need strategies to nurture professions, education, research, scholarship, policy and awareness, because all of this is important, and public good is something that is almost not addressed. And I think this is where the question comes, where should design be located? Today it is in DIPP, it's in MHRD, it's in many places, but this is where the question comes up, do we need a ministry? Wicked problems we mentioned, and it needs strategies of its own kind. And finally, I believe that we have come to a cusp where we need to look at new visions, new ways of defining, and hopefully this will be a call that will be heard well beyond this room. Thank you very much.